This is sheltering in place. It's something I never recorded from March 18th, 2020. It's reflections on our toxic mobility. And my mom sent it out of the blue, and I read it and I liked it. So here goes. I remember at the beginning of the traveling years when, as a novice, I shuffled with my duffel through the herd line at security. I spotted the heads of seasoned colleagues bobbing with their roller bags down a separate, much better line than myself. I called out to them, "Is not this security indignity a pain in common? A federally mandated security service to all citizens for the safety of travel? It is inconceivable the wealthy can pay more to go faster." Years later, I was swooshing through security, knowing precisely the weight and cut of jacket that could be left on. I knew which of my shoe lasts triggered the alarms, and on occasion, an agent would even seem familiar. There was an after odor of importance and sport to travel before it stopped. We were all checking the boards, banging out miles, chasing status, free Wi-Fi, better boarding, and dodging travel calamity. We could wax expert on this airport's quirks against that one's, talk landing patterns, and swap terminal tips. We would regale tables with the time outwitting a mechanical delay ahead of the pack or bruising an airline into some form of remorse. These games held a sportsman's satisfaction and were often the only entertainment on hand when the goal was yet 3 or 9 or 12 hours out. Between leaving the house and the far-off meeting, presentation, or God help us conference, any number of local news events might hit. Grounded, watching electrical storms strike on a Denver tarmac. Stranded after last flight, seeing the tornado pass in Wichita. Marooned, peering 19 floors down on empty streets during freezing rains in Dallas, or stomping gleeful down the emptied, muffled streets of blizzard-bound Manhattan. Oh, how we believed in the in-person meeting. Lives unspool on that belief. That haze of stature all share as soon as they're slinging themselves across the country to some engagement is this idea that one's physical presence is that precious. There is such merit to one's two-legged mass actually being there that it must see the lighting up of flight boards, the marshalling of marshals, and the firing of engines. One of the last of these absurdities played out in pursuit of a 2-hour meeting somewhere outside Aspen. It had already been a stormy fandango to get to when it was announced that the Vail Pass had been closed. 24 waiting hours stuffed unwilling into a lodge of ski-suited, wine-swilling Europeans followed. When word of an open window between avalanche clearings comes, a wild white drive past snowdrift cars and a few semis spun to crooked stops is launched. On a last tense climb up the normally choked I-70, tires just finding purchase in the snowy track, we spot a lone tractor trailer pinching and inching its hunched mammoth self toward the crest. What cargo to the Front Range could be so emergency urgent? Pulling gingerly abreast to see, it is ladders. Under the snow, the blue and orange bright feet of new ladders. This is too much mobility. All for a meeting that the local CEO attended quite masterfully by video from his home just a few miles away. Apart from the shaming tons of personal carbon I could autograph for every time my one body has been carted through the air for inanity, is the constant dislodging of human feet and spirit from earthly ground. I'm on a moving walkway between terminals at yet another airport to another flight and a different car when I know this. The metal crawling forward beneath severs myself from right here. Olden days travel spawned journals and wonder, chance meetings on trains, and eyes wider by the mile. Now the spewing of 52 billion air miles year in and year out dulls it right down to a soul simply waiting. The volumes of bodies pumping through the junctions of DIA, HOUIAH, DFW, SFO, LAXORD move in geisha steps onto air trains and flood forward, bags jostling onto escalators. No one greets in this bulk aisle world. It is too transient. The traveling ego pulls its little feet up from any landing. I'm not really here nor here, just passing through, far too important. I will be when I arrive. Not a soul takes note in this world. It is a chute dressed up in alcohol and devices. People drink brightly and everywhere at all hours, and eat piles of bar food they wouldn't at home. Grown men play nitwit games on phones and watch movies back to back without shame. Because time is for killing here, many, yes, work and work on laptops and talk on cell phones, but why then go to? The hotels are their own story. In the early days of this new travel life, a fluffy white bed, no kitchen to clean, and a room alone were the sleepover joy of all sleepovers. Years of babies and distraction, one bathroom clamored over, and a bed hanging just over the dinner table, made this sleek cube in the sky a reverence. I would bundle in white robes so showered, and choose from all sides of both beds for myself. At meetings, young banker dads on work trips would confess their great guilt and relief to be sleeping. Young moms, their joy to be showering in peace. But the escape hatch of hotel life flips to prison when you notice any time home, not dislocation, is what your bones want. I had landed to rain and a call in Des Moines last November. It was the sad, abrupt end to a raw bid for the presidential nomination. There was a rainy gathering and speeches and late goodbye drinks that night. I moved flights to the next morning and wound up, as planned, in a plump hotel box to wait. I called home with the news. Our daughter asked, "Why, that's where I put all my hope." I had been through big fights and doomed heartbreak campaigns before, and so was surprised to be crying like a baby at this one. I thought the room would be nice, a comfort. Instead, I found mindfulness quotes on the amenities card and overblown eco statements on the adjustable flow shower head, and I was just jarred. I looked around at the rough wood accents and an actual sand tray sitting there in airtight silence. Like everything, this chain attempt to trademark and paint every commercial surface with lost spiritual meaning apes what we already know. That nature, not air vents, rooted life, love, not comforts, literature, not taglines, art, not decor, and wisdom, not 24-hour blaring info. These losses send us wandering the earth and the airwaves. I could not come home fast enough. The last to go was the commute. Thrilled for years on the novelty of bustling at first light over our mountain and across the ever-glorious Golden Gate Bridge, I would dart through the city to that roller coaster crest at the top of California Street. There my breath would catch on the long view down toward the angled brick block of the Federal Reserve Building, where it anchors Market. Bright cross pieces of Bay Bridge stretched, and the backlighting of the Silver Bay itself made the rest. Landing in a swoop at the heart of the financial district, you could then see the sidewalks actually sparkle. Those first grown-up city meetings with tycoon views, sideboards of quiet, presumed food, and hushed walls were a new world. The best part was the rippling IQs on retainer, like the popcorn and the milk duds for the taking. A practice of courtesy, reason, urgency, and execution around these project finance tables prevailed. It was an exciting relief after the spate of unkempt egos and moralizing noise machines I'd weathered in my otherwise beloved old stomp of grassroots politics. Here, things like, "Don't confuse motion with progress," were said, or "We can paper that risk." Cold, large, right decisions were made without personal upset or defense. This felt like the room of how the real world works, packed with commuters and pragmatic million-milers, the Wilcoxes to my Schlegels. No one bemoaned the state of the world or touched politics, just the puzzle before us and the task at hand. I was here head down and hell bent to see an actual piece of equipment break ground to build a real thing because of me. Not a white paper or a community gathering or an awareness, not a candidate or a message or a statute, but something I could kick with my boot. That day did finally come. First with the exhilarating sword basket event of financial close, one conditioned precedent to close at a time until the bated breath exchange of final signatures lifts the gate and the money moves. Then, after untold wrangles between operators and mayors, cost engineers and citizen committees, on a day touring progress through rising rebar, I walk in my safety helmet past excavators and over catwalks. I'm looking out on our new, wildly more efficient wastewater treatment plant, coming in on budget and ahead of schedule for a blue-collar town, partly because of me. But in those same upright years, the world's rising tide of traffic slowly throttled the roller coaster of California Street, and all darting was soon over. Tech growth buried sparkling sidewalks under the frenetic feet of young workers, talking next career moves by the month. Cranes filled the skies south of Market, and the Golden Gate became a northbound choke point earlier and earlier in the afternoon. Getting homeward to kids' pickup and dinner through the gleaming new car lot that was 101, it was soon like struggling toward air from the sea depths. Underneath all ran the same bass beat of climate, thump thumping. This is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. I was stuck in the tunnel by Crissy Field when I noticed the safety placards with stick figures running, telling me I was 700 feet from out in either direction. So I was very there already when the shelter-in-place orders hit our 6 NorCal counties this month. Long natural mornings bent into quiet working days at home already. The car sat under a tree wearing long weeks of bird droppings and oak spit. I had seen what my town looked like by day and how the animals rolled in the sun after we left. I had talked to old people. No airport hustle, no hotel rooms like human ziplocs, no vibrating corridors of traffic between meetings let my insides start settling for a next age coming. Now all the family is home from afar. Late night hosts look blown and reflective as they film their stubble and sweatpants selves from living rooms, and their children shoot through in the background. Our excellent CBS News last night was one yeoman local lady, bad sound tech, and a recycled graphic, delivering real and relevant information since the national headquarters was in scrubdown. Every ad from before looks absurd, and real information has taken the place of last year's ceaseless gasbaggery of political coverage. People are home, and the bullshit's at bay. The suffering of the suffering will surely be great, the damage and duration unknown. There's a good chance we'll be idiots go large on the rebound, but let the good of this now be magnificent. We had a broken consciousness and an in fact toxic level of mobility. An estimated 77,000 lives have been saved already in China in reduced air pollution. An inconceivable 25% cliff drop in China's carbon emissions has been measured, with America's data coming. There's a new undeniable knowledge not to be erased, that the world can change course completely. Even with deniers, delay, and dysfunction at the top, the country itself began to shut down in cascades of the right, swift decisions. It will never feel like it was fast enough, but recognize the girth of what has already happened. People, businesses, churches, sports teams and organizations, social and cultural institutions, state and local government, and schools have already initiated, sacrificed, or obeyed more change faster than anything since World War II. On climate, we just did it. We started our practice run. It may not be sustainable, sufficient, nor equitable in this current form. Innocence will pay highest, and liberties will be lost. But feel it out with your brain anyway. This is taste and proof of the sudden, sweeping global potential for reset we despaired could never be. From here, by grace and near obscene privilege of place and person, I've heard today 3 generations of family working within earshot, a chicken pen in the offing, wood being split, the afternoon kettle whistling, and not an engine running in the realm. Give it a few days for fever to strike, money to ebb, half and half to run low, and this reverie will no doubt abate. But shelter in place works for now, and why not pledge those days of high transit are over for good? The cat's out of the bag. Our freedom to change is vast. We can choose today to be as repulsed by CO2 in our actions as by COVID-19. The bonus is trading the living death that is endless transit, ever waiting or hurrying or killing time in the in-betweens. Trade it for the here and now. It's the one place that eternal only moment of your one living life awaits. Thank you from 2020.